Welcome back to Inspector Toolbelt Talk, everyone. Today we have on with us Christine Gerber. How are you, Christine?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Ian.
So we have Christine on today for a very specific reason. It's going to give us our customer perspective, our client perspective. And the reason we asked Christine to be on for this podcast, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself here in a second, Christine. I just want to set you up for why you're the best person for this particular podcast. Number one, you're not a home inspector, right?
I am not.
Yep.
Never really even knew much about the home inspections. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes you perfect for this. Number two, you call and talk to and email more home inspection businesses and home inspectors than probably anybody else in the universe, even more than me, because you're on our client success team.
Mm-hmm.
So when people sign up for our app, after a couple of weeks, you kind of reach out and say, "Hey, do you need anything? Can we help you with something? You want some training?" And you just make sure that things are going well for them. So you would be our typical consumer, hypothetically calling hypothetically out of nowhere, so to speak, and saying, "Hey, my name is Christine." So you get first impressions of home inspection businesses, which has led to a lot of conversation
Mm-hmm.
about that. We've talked about it many times. Like, Ian, what do I do when there's a garbled message and I can't hear them? Or, Ian, I got this weird like bounce back from their email. And it opened up the discussion for, we can listen to all of these podcasts. We can listen to any podcast and try to institute all this stuff with our business. But if the actual rubber meeting the road, customer calling us, client calling us, what is their impression and would they hire you?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, now that I've kind of set you up, just tell us a little bit about what you do here at Inspector Toolbelt.
Yeah. I think you explained it well. So, client success, I like to say I give support to our clients that are wanting to be successful with the software. So that includes phone calls, answering emails, doing online chats, and Zoom training sessions. Everyone knows about David, and he's a favorite. But I also do Zoom training sessions. So sorry, not sorry if you get me. But yeah, and I do blogs related to the home inspection business. So that's a little sum up.
Nice. Yeah, and you do a fantastic job at it. And, I think this would be a great session to bash David because he cannot control
It'd
the
be great.
narrative here. Yeah. But so let's get into it because this is something that's close to my heart. I remember many, many times this happens, but I remember one particular inspector. He told me, "I'm on the Googles," which automatically, when he said it like that, I'm
The
like,
Googles.
"Okay, you're not on the Googles." And he's like, "I have a website. I'm doing everything right," is what he was telling me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not getting work. What am I doing wrong? And I think this is the perfect opportunity to talk about what people actually get when they call us.
Yeah.
So maybe we could start off. You actually sent me a list of things that you've been keeping track of. Is like, Ian, is this normal in the home inspection industry? Let's start off with maybe voicemails and phone calls. When you're calling a home inspection company, what are some of the things that you find happens?
Yeah. I think the number one, something that stands out is the voicemail itself. Sometimes the box is full where you can't leave a message. And so right there, if a new client is calling, they're either going to have to, waste their time calling over and over trying to get someone, but more likely scenario is probably they're just not going to call back if they can't leave a message the first time. Yeah. And then also with the voicemails, I have heard numerous ones where you can tell that the voicemail was made while on the road, like in the car. The car is on, driving, you hear staticky background. So it's not super clear. And that just, it doesn't come across as super professional.
Yeah, I think it's good to start with the voicemails because that's a pet peeve of mine too. Like, our voicemails are going to be like, "Hey, you've reached such and such inspection company. We're happy to help you. We're assisting another client at the moment. Please leave a message."
Mm-hmm.
First of all, our phone calls shouldn't so consistently go to voicemail. Even if we're new, consider a VA, consider a call service, because you lose about 40 some odd % of calls that go to voicemail. Because if the next inspector they call answers right away, they've won that client. But the whole voicemail thing, I can't tell you how many times I've had the same experience as you. This voicemail box is full. I don't that's gone. And I've
Mhm.
actually told guys, I'm like, hey, I've called you twice and the voicemail is full, and they're like, oh, okay. Oh, I'll do something. I have to do something about that. And it doesn't sound like they're going to do anything about it. And half the time, I know they don't because I'll call them
Mhm.
back again a week later. It's like the voicemail box is full. What phone service are you using that your voicemail gets full so often? I mean,
2024.
yeah, it's 2020. I get more phone calls than the average human being, and I don't know if I've ever reached the limit of my voicemail box. Even still, whatever. Check it daily, clear it daily. What are we saving in there? But I do
Mhm.
like your one about the unprofessional voicemails. My favorite is, "Hey, this is Joe. Leave a message."
Yeah.
My dentist does that. Like I call and they're like,
Mhm.
"Hello, this is Karen. Okay, leave a message." I'm like, "Was that my dentist? Like,
Yeah.
who am I calling?" You were gonna say something.
Yeah, well, and then recently, I remember one of the voicemails, it was somebody left his message and then didn't click, like, to finish the voicemail, and then there was this long pause, and you could also tell it was, like, the car in the car, so there's background noise for, like, 15 seconds after, and then yeah, and then it ended. So, that was funny too.
But yeah, so think about that. You your automatic response is, okay, well, that's it. I know I'm not going to leave a message for that. I'm going to wait until I get a professional person on the other end of the
Mm,
phone to answer. So that's a good example of real talk. It's like we spend all this time getting people to call us, um, paying for Google ads, and that's my favorite. It's like these guys are paying for Google ads a lot of the times, and they're paying for anywhere from $10 to $70 for a click, and it's like that missed phone call, an unprofessional message, or full mail voicemail box, that just cost you actual real dollars. Just having somebody hit a voicemail, it's almost 50-50 shot we're going to lose them. Let alone an unprofessional voicemail or a full mail voicemail box. Now that's almost 100% chance that we have lost that lead. So, and how often, what percentage of home inspectors do you call that one of those occurrences will happen?
oh, quite a bit. Good
Yeah.
percentages,
Would you
yeah.
say a third as a
Yeah,
guess?
probably. Yep.
Yep. So, and how many do you actually get a live person or just the voicemail in general?
Often. Yeah.
Just the voicemail often?
Mm. Pretty often, yeah, like, not an answering yeah, I leave a lot of voicemails, so, yeah,
Yeah.
more often than getting, like, an answering like, a secondary answering, service. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you call, it's a normal phone number
Yep.
that's just gonna come up like you could
Yep.
be a client.
Mhm.
I would say, and this is rough numbers just because I'm a dork and I try to quantify things. I would say 80% of the time, if not more,
Mm.
when I call a home inspector, I never get a live person.
Mhm.
And it will be hours and sometimes days before they call me back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sad because that's not good business.
Yep. Dollars down the drain. Yeah, and then another thing in the voicemail I don't know, or on the is it okay
Phone
if I
call?
move on?
Yeah, please do.
Just about when answering the phones, it's funny how sometimes the way that guys answer the phone, they either sometimes they sound really annoyed or really rushed that you called, and they don't even know like who it is that's calling. Like the initial, because they're in the middle of maybe an inspection, it's not a good time, but you can tell that in the way that they answer. Um, if that's a client calling, it's like you don't want your first impression to sound like, "Why did you call me?" You should just be expecting. And if you can't answer, it's better to let it go to voicemail than not answer if you're so busy. You know.
That's a good point, and we've talked about that on the show about smiling with our voice. People
Mm.
can tell when we're happy that they're called, and we want to feel welcomed. We want to have a good experience. I think our podcast a couple weeks ago with Randy Lima, I love the context of that. In a world of McDonald's, be a Chick-fil-A. So when they finally get to the window to order, and we're like, "What do you want?" I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A instead of that fast food joint, because I want to feel welcomed. I want to feel happy about you working for me. So let's say the 20% of the phone calls that actually get through, a good percentage of those, they're not getting a great customer experience on the other side of the phone. When an actual live person answers, man, this is really important stuff because it's like having a really great running restaurant and then
Mhm.
just nobody can order or get a live person to get them their meal, and then we wonder why we're not selling stuff.
Yep.
It's pretty consistent along the lines of established home inspectors and new ones too, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, even once, you find out the guy's been in business, for 20 years almost, and they still just haven't got the grasp on having a good voicemail or the way they answer, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's sad, but that's why we're talking about it. So, just to we have a couple of sections to kind of talk about here. To kind of sum up the voicemail and phone call section, though, I personally am a firm believer in getting somebody to answer our phones.
Mm.
Um, if we can't, or we don't, or that's not our thing, we really need to, one, check our voicemails every moment possible. Listen to our voicemail right now. And we're like, oh, yeah, if they want a home inspection, they'll leave it. Like, hey, leave a message if you want a home inspection. If that's our voicemail, drop it, sit down in a nice quiet room and say, hey, welcome to such and such inspection company. I'm with another client right now. Please leave a message. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. We check our messages regularly.
Mhm.
Make them feel welcomed. And then switch our phone services if our voicemail box is always full. Go to somebody with an unlimited voicemail. And if you don't want to do that, don't want to switch, it's the only carrier in your area, that's fine. Check it every day. Delete voicemails. Never let our voicemail get full. But I am, just like you, personally amazed at how many home inspectors I call, and that's my first impression when
Yeah.
I call them. It's pretty uncomfortable, to be honest.
Yeah.
But and then there's those guys that they just are on point, answer the phone right away, and even if just answering the phone gives us a better shot at almost anybody else of closing that deal. What were we going to
Yeah.
say?
No, it's, yeah, sometimes the numbers that are listed on the websites I've gotten where it goes to the office, like, that's the default, it's not necessarily their cell phone, so there's somebody in the office many times that will answer, so that's nice too, and they take a message or yeah.
Yeah, no, that is the best way to do it, in my opinion. Call center or VA, and I see a lot of guys complain online about those two options, like, oh, they're not answering the calls that the way I want them.
Mm,
I'm like, it's better that they answer the call the way you don't like it than not answer that call at all, because you still have a better chance. Statistically speaking, we have a better chance. Even a bad answering service is better chance than a no answer.
mm.
So again, it's just about the numbers. Let's go to emails. That's a fun one. Um, I always have anecdotes, Christine, but I remember one guy I was trying to email back and forth, a home inspector, and I just couldn't understand his emails. And I even sent it to somebody else on the team, and I'm like, am I just not how am I not understanding this guy's email? And then eventually he wrote me back. He goes, "Sorry, I have a hard time putting my thoughts into words." I'm like, "Isn't that what you do for a living?" We're like, "This is bad," and
I
we have
wonder
to
how
put
he
our
I
thoughts
wonder
into
how he
words.
writes comments, like, how the comments come out.
Yeah. So, and he's gotten better over time. I've worked with him a little bit, but um, our email communications. Let's just illustrate that our email communications as home inspectors are a portrayal in the mind of a consumer as to what they're going to get with the actual report. So, what are some things you've run into when you're emailing home inspectors?
I think, first again in manners, like just the way that an email's written. We get a lot of support emails, ones needing help with something. And sometimes the email just starts off, this isn't working. I need it fixed right now, and then says what it maybe says in detail or not what the problem is. But it's like whenever you're making a request for anything, it's just a please and thank you in the email, a hello just to start off, super simple. Hi, anything. Um, yeah, because I think those things will come across to whoever that you're going to end up emailing if you get in the habit of that.
Yeah, and so I think how I take it is that old um, proverb of those who are faithful in least will be faithful in much. In
Mm.
other words, if we're going to be polite in all of our interactions, Not like if you're contacting support, okay, we get it, you're irritated and things like that. But like you were saying, that can rub off on our clients. If that's how we actually are, it's eventually going to come off that way in other emails.
Mm.
And emails are a dangerous situation. We project our own feelings when we're reading something. So if our client's irritated and stressed and our email comes off even just slightly that way, then that's how the client's going to take it.
Mm.
So we need to be really, really careful with those interactions. And I've had some, I've had some clients of mine accidentally email me. Like they must have a client named Ian or something, and so they just start typing, and it's like they don't notice that it's me instead. And it's like, oh, you're saying that to people, dude?
Mhm.
And it's guys that I know, and I'll work with them, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, sounds like they just wanted to ask a question, but and I have to stop myself sometimes too. You know, like I have to stop and say, okay, how is this going to come off? Am I being overly polite? And I love putting little smiley faces in there, lots of pleasantries. It just makes the pill that we're giving them a little bit easier to swallow. But
Yeah.
no, you're right. Make it a habit to be polite in our emails. What else do you find with home inspection companies' emails?
Yeah, the lack of detail sometimes. Just, if somebody does need help with something, not just being very vague about it. Because if that happens, there's a lot more back and forth, and it's going to waste not only on both parties, it's going to waste time, not having enough details. And then also you email for something, or maybe a client emails you and then no response, because sometimes we'll have somebody email them back for more information, and then it's like nothing. Like, okay, where'd you go? So,
Yeah. So there's a couple things rolled up in there. The email response thing is important. Gone are the days where we check our emails at the end of the day.
hmm,
And if we're like my age and older, we probably remember those times where at the end of the day you checked your emails and you responded. If we're not responding within a shorter period of time, people are moving on. Like if they
mhm,
email an inquiry, email right back, respond very, very quickly. But I have the same thing. Guys not responding for days, and they'll say, "Oh, I missed your email. I need to check it more often." And I'm like, "What are you missing?" But there's actually a technical side of that too. So if we use an email service that is notoriously bad,
mhm,
we're going to miss emails. Um, one of them and this is just my personal opinion, that GoDaddy has one of the worst email systems in the world. And I have helped many, many clients, even if we're using Outlook built on GoDaddy, there's problems with it. And I've had lots of clients that I've helped dig out all these old emails. And one guy was upset because it was thousands of dollars of work that he missed in just however long of a period of time because GoDaddy wasn't handling their emails properly. There's one home inspector right now, same issue. We email him. He goes, "Why haven't you responded to my email?" I'm like, "I have." And it's just like,
mhm,
oh, okay. There's also some technical issues. Just having an email isn't enough. We need to make sure that it works properly. We personally like Google Workspace if we're going to use an
mm,
email with our domain name in it, like our website address. Those are really great because if Google's email goes down, it's a zombie apocalypse anyways. Nobody's hiring us as home inspectors.
mm.
Let's get out your rifle and start killing zombies. Um, this really took a turn, didn't it?
I know. I'm like, how did zombies come up with this?
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
surprised. If
Yeah.
anyone's listened to your podcast before, there's no surprises actually.
Yeah. ADD makes for great conversation. Look, squirrel. So, um, look at the technical side of it. And it's kind of like if we're a mason and all of our masonry tools are broken and we still try to use them, and then we keep telling our customers, oh, yeah, all of our tools are broken. It's the same thing. If we're home inspectors and our email's broken, and we keep saying, "Oh, I got to get that fixed," but we don't get it fixed, we'll never know the work that we're missing because we're not getting those emails. I
It's
have
true.
um I have a client right now. It's been weeks, and I get undeliverable mail back. So then I text them, "Your email isn't working." "Oh, well, it's working for me." I'm like, "I've emailed you from 4 different emails. Here's the screenshot. Is this your email address?" "Yes, I'll look into it." Weeks go by. I'm like, if people are asking you for home inspections right now, you're just not going to know about it. We need to stop and fix those issues.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, maybe it's a good idea to also occasionally look in your spam folder because,
Yeah,
you never know if some client that email, maybe they had a weird email or something, which also on that, I'm jumping to another point, but spam
please do.
folder. um, Also your email name. So sometimes I've seen some really strange email names and
Yeah,
sometimes they don't, yeah, just try to keep it professional. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to necessarily be a certain, you know, but is it weird? Like if a person's like, why do they have that email? So,
yeah. Keep our personal emails separate. I mean, we can get free emails from Gmail.
yeah.
What if you don't want to spend it on a domain name? I know exactly what you're talking about. We built this beautiful website one time. It was one of my favorite websites of all time. And I'm not going to give the guy's actual email, but then he's like, right up at the top, I want you to put my email. And it was like digdoug336 cutie pie at yahoo.com. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. He goes, cutie pie was my nickname in high school. I'm like, I don't care what it was. I'm
I know. I
like,
don't like the numbers. I saw another one like that had like 5 numbers, like random numbers at the end. It's weird. It's hard to remember. So yeah, just easily mistyped, and there's
yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the numbers, but the numbers don't bother me. But it's like all the cutesy nicknames and all that stuff, and or your name is Bill but everybody calls you Billy Bob, and it's billybob at gmail.com. It's like that doesn't exactly exude confidence. Have it be home inspector Doug at gmail.com or something. If whatever, just
yeah.
something better than your nickname or your personal email. And I do have an issue with Yahoo emails or Hotmail ones. So listen, I'm an old dude. I still have Hotmail emails because I've been using them for 30 years. And how do you get rid of them after 30 years? But that's not my professional email,
Mhm.
you know? Um, Even well, you can use out Hotmail, but like old Yahoo
I was like,
ones.
Yahoo. Who uses Yahoo?
I know. I'm like, how do
Sorry
you?
for anybody who uses Yahoo. We're not
Yeah, I'm
making
like,
fun of
how do
that.
you still have a Yahoo account? And that's still okay, but is it professional? At the very least, get a Gmail account. Hotmail is okay. Yahoo, not my favorite. That's a side point and just a personal preference. But sometimes we've been using them so long. One of my professional emails was and still is a Hotmail account. I've been using that for 2 decades. I'm like, I really can't get rid of it now. But it's also not billybob123 at yahoo.com. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the emails, phone calls, those are going to be our first impressions typically of a home inspector on a personal level. Let's talk a little bit about websites, something close to my heart.
Mm.
Websites are very important. So, when we start looking up a guy's website, we're like, oh, let me call this guy. Let me check out his company and see what he's about. What are some things that you find that would turn you off as a potential client?
Yeah, some fun ones on this. First off, no name. You can't find the inspector's name anywhere. Maybe some do that on purpose, like they really don't want to know, but I don't understand as a consumer why that would be, because I was thinking, even if I go to like find a new hairstylist, I love when they put the people's names. That's just your hair. That's not your whole home being inspected, this person showing up to your home. Um, I've seen like, a whole page about, oh, there's an about me page, and it'll go in about their family life and their hobbies, and it has all their credentials, everything, but no name anywhere on the site. I don't get that.
Well, and statistically, having a picture of yourself on your website alone, even if we're a multi-inspector firm, having a picture of the owner, of the guys, is shown to increase conversions by up to 50%. So the name, I don't know if there's any statistics specifically on the name, but I would imagine it would have the same relative effect because it personalizes and humanizes us. So it's like you go up to somebody and you're like, hey, what's your name? And they go, hi, I'm a home inspector. Okay, but what's your name? Hi, I'm a home inspector. That's the impression of the conversation we're getting from the website.
Yeah,
It doesn't need to be plastered everywhere, but yeah,
somewhere,
personalize. Yeah,
just somewhere.
personalize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did a website for a company, multi-inspector firm, and one of the first things we see on the homepage is a picture of the owner standing in front of an inspection. And even just me for developing websites, as long as I have thousands and thousands of web pages, I look at it, I'm like, I just get a warm fuzzy feeling from that. I'd hire them. I don't care if I get the owner. As I go down the page, I see pictures of the other inspectors and their bios on the about page. That just endears them to me. I'm more likely to hire them than the guy that just has, blank AI generated content on the front.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
good point. What else do you notice?
A really long homepage where you just can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And sometimes, yeah, I think just I've seen some that are so long that a person, and also with a lot, very wordy, very like lots of paragraphs all at once about everything that they do all on the homepage. I think it just gets a little overwhelming.
Yeah, and then there again too, statistics actually work along with what you're saying. Most people will land on a website and we have 3 seconds to convert them. And then the average person will spend 30 to 90 seconds on our website as a whole. The homepage is where they typically land the most. The About Us page is the most navigated to page from wherever they land. And the home inspection page is the second most navigated to page after they land. But on the homepage, I see both sides of that, and both sides bother me. You land on a homepage, and they don't have a logo or anything. It's just Joe's Home Inspections, and then just a quick paragraph. We offer inspections. You should hire me because I'm awesome, and you should know that already. It's like, oh, okay. And then other times where I see it, like you said, and it's just paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. People don't read that. We have 3 seconds, and then on the homepage, an average of 30 seconds. Give them short blurbs and catchy. I say catchy isn't the right word. Idea filled headers. Like the best in the business, and then you have logos underneath it. They're only going to get halfway through the first sentence, and the logos are going to speak of your qualifications. Then they scroll down in a graphic of the report, modern home inspection reports. The average person isn't going to spend a lot of time reading a paragraph about home inspection reports. Now, some of that is there for Google, but we need to give the people, as they're looking at it, something to catch their eye and give them something to read quickly before they move along. So, yeah, I think it's our mentality as home inspectors. We do the same thing with our reports. We think people will be impressed by our really long, wordy sections on every defect that we could possibly ever imagine in our reports. And we treat our websites the same way. And then we do the reverse thing of what we should do. Instead of sending our website to somebody like you who isn't a home inspector, you go, I don't know what this means. I don't understand why I should hire you. Where's your phone number? Instead, we send it to other home inspectors and say, hey, guys, can you look at my website? Yeah, of course other home inspectors are going to like our website because they're looking at it as a home inspector. But we don't
They
want
might
other homes.
they
Yeah, we
might
don't
have
want
the
to.
same bad website.
Yeah, exactly. We need to send it to someone like you and say, yeah, I don't get this. Why do you have that on there? Don't send it to people that want their website to look just like ours. They're just going to tell us, yeah, this is great because it's wordy. That's what it should be. So, no,
Yeah.
I get
I
that
think
complaint.
it comes from being in school and it's like you have to write a 500-word essay. You have to write a 1,000-word essay. And not so much anymore these days.
See, I've talked about this before. I didn't really get through high school,
Right.
and that never made sense to me. I'm like, why write more when you can show that you understand more by writing less?
So
Schools are
much fluff.
backwards.
So much fluff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Einstein, if you can't explain it simply, you simply don't understand. So, again, we're digressing with the ADD over here. Okay. Anyways, so you also brought up logos. Tell me about what happens when you go to these home inspectors' websites with their logo.
Yeah. Sometimes they're either really, 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 really small or there is no logo actually. And that doesn't happen often where there's none. But I actually came across a website where there was no logo. There was just, yeah, it was a weird one. Or the colors are really funny. And in one, I saw, I don't know if it was a logo or if it was a phone number, but it was fluorescent coloring against a white background.
Mm.
So you're like, what is that? Trying to make out that's not good. If someone can't easily tell what it is, or just a weird logo that has nothing to do, like, you're like, how is that at all related to home inspections? Um, yeah, just odd ones.
Yeah. The logo thing is a big one. Um, my favorite is make the logo bigger. And if you're listening to this podcast and we've built a website for you, I've probably told you as you're telling me make the logo bigger. How about we make the logo a reasonable size? Like sometimes I land on a website, all I see is big logo. It takes up my whole screen, and I'm like, that never will you go to a big corporate website because they have teams of people that they pay millions and millions of dollars to design websites
Mhm.
in a way that will convert. Never will you see the whole screen be taken up by the logo. Or, like you said, sometimes the logo's way at the bottom, nowhere to be found up at the top, really tiny because we're using some website builder like Weebly or something, and we just shove a logo in there and we're like, oh man, I guess that's as big as the logo gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phone numbers too, that's a big one. I see more websites where either there's no phone number or I can't find it or I have to look
Mhm.
that hard. If somebody has to look for the phone number, you've lost that conversion. Yeah.
Maybe their voicemail's not good, so they
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
find it.
they're hiding their phone number because the voicemail isn't good. Yeah, exactly. Within the first 3 seconds of opening a website, people should see who we are, what we do, why hire us, and how to contact us. Those are the four primary things. And we do that with logo, phone number at the top, some sort of image to capture the idea of a home inspection, and a short blurb of text. That's really what we want within the first 3 seconds. Do you find that a lot of phone numbers? Well, you use Apple devices, if I remember right,
Mhm.
and Apple automatically converts a phone number to a clickable link. So if it finds a 10-digit number, it'll make it clickable. A lot of Android devices and older Apple devices won't do that. So, and I use a desktop caller. So I go on lots of websites where I can't click on their phone number. So all that's happening is for me now as a consumer is having to copy and paste that phone number where I can actually call them. That in of itself will lose. I couldn't even guess how many conversions we'd lose because if it's a guy I have to call, even then I'm kind of grumbling. I'm like copying and pasting on my desktop caller. That's not good business. If we want to make our phone number a clickable link, either we or a website developer highlight it, hyperlink it, and put in TEL colon with no spaces, one hyphen, and then the phone number with hyphens in it. What that does is it tells every device that this is now not just a series of numbers, but a clickable link. People on a desktop, on a phone, they can do that. Same thing with an email. I hate it when I have to copy and paste the email. I want to just click on it and go. Again, you can make that a link by highlighting it, hyperlinking it, and do mail to MAILTO colon, and then the email with no spaces in it. And that makes it a clickable link. If we're not doing that, that's kind of like bringing somebody a plate of spaghetti and making them put the sauce on it at a restaurant. It's like drizzle it on for them.
Yeah, we're talking about food. I mean, you wanna order food online, or you're, like, gonna do takeout or something, and if that happened with a phone number, it would be really annoying. You're hungry, you're on it right there, so you can't click the phone number to call, but
Yeah, especially the younger generations. Like, I mean, younger generations don't even like to have to do much of anything to contact somebody. They like to chat with them on their website, let alone have to copy and paste a phone number into their phone to text message them. We should make it totally available for them to text message us, not just call
Mhm.
us. But we're talking advanced because going back down to it, I would say for me anyways, a good 30-40% of websites that I visit of home inspectors, I cannot readily find their phone number or their phone number is buried somewhere down at the bottom. Would you say that's about right
Yeah,
for you or?
that sounds like a good percentage. I'm not good with percentages, so I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
okay,
Yeah.
fine. But think about that. Even on the lower end, let's say it's only 25%. Okay, that's 1 in 4 of us are making it hard for people to contact us. We don't want that. Contact forms, we don't actually try not to even use contact forms much anymore, unless it's for commercial inspections because it's still effective there. Because the statistics we show are that contact forms are becoming more and more useless. The average consumer does not like to fill them out because, and interestingly, because most people don't get a response from contact forms. So have we tested our contact form lately? Does it work? Very likely it doesn't, because if we're using Gmail or Yahoo, interestingly, they have these new security measures that block most website contact forms. They have their place in Google ad campaigns and things like that, but for the most part, try to avoid contact forms. People don't like them, statistically speaking, anymore. I'd rather have them call or email you directly on the contact page. But what about some other things that you had actually mentioned the location?
Yeah, location. I've seen that a bit. So someone goes to your website and can't really tell where you are, what cities you cover. It's just, yeah, your location is not clear. What state are you in? What cities are you in?
Yeah.
It's also going to waste time on both the client and because what if somebody contacts you who's outside of your location area, your service area, and you don't want to actually go that far, but now you've had to have this conversation explaining where you are. That could have just been found out from the main page.
Yeah. And it's a really good point because when we're developing websites, one thing people try to do all the time, I say all the time, often enough that it sticks in my head, that I don't want to limit myself. So they're like, don't put that I service Houston. Just say I service all of the state of Texas. I'm like, yeah, but now if somebody's calling you for Houston, they land on your website, they don't know where you are. It's like, can we radiate out from where you are at the very least? Or some people like I find this with
Counties.
services too. What's that?
No, counties. You could do by counties if you don't want to list cities.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
the consumer side of things, Google
Yeah.
doesn't like Google, for Google purposes, search engine purposes, you don't want to go by counties, but for your consumer list, hey, we serve Albany, Schenectady, and Rensselaer County. I'm using my own area as an example. Let people know. Or if there's a colloquial name, like you serve Dallas, Fort Worth, we're serving the entire DFW.
Mm.
Or the entire capital region, whatever our area calls for, make it clear when they first land where you service.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talk a lot about commercial inspections here, but I'm seeing a trend of guys saying, I don't want to limit myself to home inspections, so just call it inspections. But this is why we tell everybody to separate their businesses. Because now if you're saying property inspections in the DFW, people don't automatically know. They're like, my agent told me to get a home inspection.
Mm.
But as a home inspector, we're thinking, well, I don't want to limit myself to home inspections. I want to do home and commercial. Make it clear what we do. The best home and commercial inspections in the DFW. Don't hide what we do to broaden our horizons. All that does is water down our message. So not just location, but what we do. Really super important. But yeah, location. We really need to tell people where we are. The other thing that I hear people say a lot is, well, my phone number is a 716 area code, just pulling one out of the air. They should know where I am. I'm like, you're still forcing a user that you only have 3 seconds, and we're forcing a user to go, oh, hey, that's my area code.
Yeah.
That's not going to do the right job for us. This is something that I think on the side, we actually have you edit a lot of our websites for grammar and links and stuff like that. So tell us about the grammar and spelling errors, because I notice on your list here you have not one, but 2 exclamation points.
I could have done more. That big pet peeve of mine. Yeah, you have a, most likely professionally done website. I mean, some inspectors have made their own websites, and that's great. But even if you make your own, don't let it be apparent that there are grammar and spelling errors. And sometimes they're really, really evident. And that just, sometimes even driving on the road, I've seen on billboards before spelling errors. And that, I'm like, somebody got paid, to do that for you. And it's just, it looks so unprofessional. Yeah, it's a big one to me.
Yeah, and Nick Ramiko's brought that up, that when people look at our websites, they're getting a first impression and they actually connect it to what a report's going to look like. If there's
Yep.
grammar errors there, they're going to expect it on a report. They're going to say he's going to have a hard time communicating with me. And that's not what we look
Yeah.
for. The most common spelling error that I see is peace of mind. One of the most common phrases on a home inspection website, get real peace of mind. And we spell it PEICE. That's not the word. We're talking about peace, like world peace of mind, not a piece of my mind. That's a different expression.
Yeah, it's PIE. You spelled that one wrong too.
Yeah, I know. Oh, see, and there you go. And this is why we have an editor.
Yeah.
I before E, except after C,
Oh.
not, yeah. So that's ironic. That's awesome. But that's why have somebody else check our website. Somebody like Christine here, who's just going to go through and say, "Don't say it this way," or that doesn't sound right, and look it up. And good grammar errors are going to slip in. Nobody's going to ever have 100% grammar error free website, in my opinion, if it's of any length of text. But it shouldn't be apparent. It should only happen once in a blue moon, and we should correct it immediately if we find it. When was the last time we checked the links on our website? I go to websites and I click dead links all the time, or I've clicked to call and it doesn't call anybody. We're losing conversions at that rate. But yeah, the spelling and grammar, that's a big one. I've seen home inspectors. The funniest one I find is the M on your keyboard when you write home inspections doesn't work. So you get ho inspections all the time. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, hysterical. But
Totally wrong.
yeah, I'm
Wrong
like,
world.
we're typing so fast that we're not looking. Or there's some other common ones, and I'm just like, yeah, just have somebody check our website.
Yeah.
There's companies that we can pay to go through and grammar check our website. It's just really important to do. One last point, and I thought this was really good that you put it in here. Be careful about not bashing other inspectors on your site. Why did you put that in there, Christine?
Because it's, of course, you want to say, like, I'm the best inspector, but I have seen where it was highlighted how other inspectors miss things, and they're unreliable, and doing that really, you think that you're making yourself stand out, but you're actually hurting, I feel, like the industry as a whole, because obviously you want people to choose you, but you don't want them to think like, oh, there's just a bunch of bad home inspectors out there. And for two reasons. One, well, yeah, that's it. Like, you don't want to ruin your industry, but also you may need those guys one day to help cover for you, or it should be like a supportive network. I mean, you've talked about that before, that sometimes you want other inspectors, you may not be able to get to something, you have somebody else to help you. If you have made it known that you're like bashed other inspectors, especially if you live in a smaller area that maybe there aren't a ton of home inspectors, they might not be giving you any favors one day when you need it.
Yeah, and that's definitely the higher elevation of why we don't want to do it. But let's say we're just completely selfish as a home inspector and don't care about the industry as a whole. There's not many guys out there like that. But let's say hypothetically, and we're only worried about converting that user. That also hurts our own conversion, because they may not be thinking, "Oh, I'm going to hire somebody from an industry that has a bad name, and they're all going to be good, and I just want to hire the best one." So now when they visit our website, we're telling them, "Oh man, our industry is full of a bunch of jokers and bad stuff." And all we're doing is actually hurting our own conversion rate, because we're creating anxiety in our environment that they're in instead of confidence. So if I'm going to go buy a new refrigerator and I go on a website and say, as you've probably seen, all refrigerators break within 6 months and they explode and they murder your children in the middle of the night. Now I'm like, oh man, what? Maybe I don't need a new refrigerator.
Yeah.
Their agent may be trying to tell them, don't get a home inspection. Skip that to get your offer in. And we don't know what's happening in the background, or maybe they're already anxious. All we did was, one, reaffirm maybe what their agent is telling them to skip the inspection because home inspectors are jokers. But more importantly, two, we've created a level of anxiety now that they associate with us and our website. Why would they hire us?
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of thought about when I do like Zoom training sessions for new guys, I try not to, I hope I've never done this, but I don't bash other home inspection softwares. I don't
Yeah.
talk about all the reasons why, oh, you shouldn't go to them. You shouldn't. I just say what makes us good. Of course, I know Inspector Toolbelt is the best, but yeah, you don't have to put down other people, other companies just to make yourself. Just focus on what you can do for the person, and that's going to be way more attractive to them. Yeah. It's like when you have friends with somebody and they talk about, if a person talks bad about other friends that they had or whatever, is that really attractive, make them attractive as a friend, or do they just talk about positive things? You're more drawn to that person. So kind of thought about that.
As a caveat, I literally pay Christine to say that we're the best. So I don't. No, but
Yeah.
it's true. We have clients all the time say, or users come and say, what can you compare your two apps together? And our answer is always, listen, we're not experts on their app, but like you said, here's what makes us great. And we focus on the positive. And we have better experiences with those potential users than I imagine if we did it the other way.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the home inspection industry. If we speak respectfully of our industry, but then tell them why we're awesome, that's going to have a better conversion rate and also help our own industry. But Christine, we are running out of time, but this was a really interesting discussion because this is where rubber meets road. We can talk about how great our car runs and the engine and the fuel injectors and the special tires we have, but really until it hits the road, we don't know how it runs. So as we're operating our inspection business, whether we're new or experienced, look over some of these very basic things, because this is all of our prep work, all of our branding, all of our education and everything all put together. If at the end of the day, people can't call us, email us, or look at our website and get the experience that they're looking for, it's all for naught, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And if you want a training session and you're tired of David, by all means, ask for Christine, and she'll help you out. And I don't know, we'll have to do something about David. I don't know, Christine.
Yeah, been trying to get rid of him, but he seems to stick around.
I know, he sticks around. All right,
We
well,
really
thank you.
love him. Talking about good things about other people.
I'm going to have David listen through this whole podcast so he can hear us bash him.
Yeah.
Now, we love you, David. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Inspector Toolbelt. And we'll see you all next time.